Revenge of the Cybermen, the fifth and final serial of season 12 of Doctor Who, broadcast in 4 parts from April to May 1975. Now, this was actually a story I was looking forward to. I mean, I'd seen some people knock it, but I was actually really excited to see this one. The Cybermen at this point, hadn't actually been seen in a while, with their last appearance having been in 1968's The Invasion, where they faced down Patrick Troughton, and they wouldn't actually be seen again for another 7 years until 1982's Earthshock. Now, I've seen Invasion, I haven't seen Earthshock yet, but this is probably my favourite classic design of the Cybermen. At least my favourite one from the classic era. I mean, there are elements of the design you can see in the Invasion, but this one to me always feels like one of the most iconic. I mean, I know the most iconic Cyberman scene is them marching down the steps of St. Paul's Cathedral in the Invasion, and that one's pretty cool. But this, whenever I think of classic era Cybermen, this is the design that I usually look at. So, what's the story? The fourth Doctor, played once again by Tom Baker, and his companions Sarah Jane Smith, played by Elizabeth Sladen, and Harry Sullivan, played by Ian Marter, following on from the events of Genesis of the Daleks, they have just escaped using a time ring, and they end up on a space station. Now, seemingly this is a space station they have encountered before, in that it was apparently featured in a previous Doctor Who story, The Ark in Space, which I have yet to see, but I'll get to that. The space station is now called Nova Beacon, and it's seemingly above a planet named Voga. And the Cybermen are invading the space station. They want to take control of it, and they mainly want to do it to destroy Voga. Why do they want to destroy Voga? Voga is the planet of gold, and while it's less prevalent in the New Who series, in the Classic Era series, Cybermen were shown to have a weakness to gold, and that gold could clog up their chest units and cause them to suffocate. Voga has apparently previously been a key part of the Cyber Wars, and they want to make sure they can wipe that defeat from history by destroying Voga. And while on the space station, the Doctor and his friends have to stop the Cybermen from taking over, and they meet a bunch of colourful characters along the way, along with the bases, such as the base's commander, Stevenson, Lester, a man named Professor Kelman, who is actually working with the Cybermen, as well as the residents of the planet Voga, the Vogans, such as Vorus and Magric. And while I am aware that they did appear in the previous Cybermen adventures, we also get a new look for the Cybermats. Now, with the Cybermats, being a child of New Who, I mainly know them in the Doctor Who episode, New Who Doctor Who episode Closing Time, and I do think that is still my favourite design of them. I mean, it's fair classic, but also kind of scary, whereas this design of the Cybermats is clearly just a long thing on wires, but then they do play a fairly key part in it, in which once you're seemingly bitten by the Cybermat, instead of probably being torn whole or being turned into a cyber slave, you're seemingly affected with this kind of virus, which Elizabeth Sladen seemingly gets infected with it towards the end of part 1, I want to say. Maybe part 1 or part 2, I'm not entirely sure. And she has to be taken down to Voga in order to be removed of the virus, which is kind of cool. Now, I will admit, this isn't a perfect story. I mean, once again, like classic era Doctor Who, it does show its age in some part. For example, down on the planet Voga, they seem to have a kind of small train system, which is clearly like a trolley tractor type of thing, moving a load of carts. So you just see that and think, yeah, this is pretty silly. But then again, they do manage to do some cool stuff with it. I mean, the small pamphlet inside the DVD once again notes that this isn't necessarily the strongest series, and the Cybermen are kind of downplayed than the bigger threat they usually were. But then there is stuff to enjoy about this, and apparently repeats of this once the series was cancelled kind of caused the series to regain some of its popularity. And this was supposedly one of the first ones to be released on DVD or VHS. You know what? I can see why. It doesn't have to have the deepest meaning. Revenge of the Cybermen is just a fun story. And once again, while I previously said that I think John Pertwee was becoming my favourite classic Doctor, upon watching this story, I think Tom Baker's in with a shout of kind of struggling in for him. You know what? Tom Baker's Doctor's fun. And once again, I have got a video coming up reviewing parts of the Sarah Jane adventure, so I will get into that more. But Elizabeth Sladen does well, and so does Ian Marter. Revenge of the Cybermen isn't going to go down as one of the greatest Doctor Who stories ever told. I mean, that would probably go to its predecessor, Genesis of the Daleks. But Revenge of the Cybermen is just fun. And you know what? Often with Doctor Who, we can look out on fun. We think we need to have things kind of dark, serious, with deeper meaning. Now, Revenge of the Cybermen, you just get to have a good time seeing humans and Vogons fighting back against the Cybermen. Even with the Cybermen's little turret guns on the top of their head, those are funny. They're funny, they're fun, and you know what? With Doctor Who, we can run out of a little bit of fun, so it's nice to see it here. So, Revenge of the Cybermen, is it the greatest? No, but you know what? I haven't had fun with a Doctor Who episode for a little while. So you know what? Revenge of the Cybermen fits the bill. Check it out if you get the chance. Anyway, the next classic episode I've got on my to-do list is Silver Nemesis. What do I think of that? Well, I'll tell you when I've seen it. Till then, see you.